of an early show. We got to get out at 5:40 for Syracuse men's baseball. They're on the road at Buffalo. Dropped 16 runs, by the way, last night. Incredible performance, so we'll get out of here in a little bit. Geoff Magliocchetti joins us now, and then in a few minutes we'll have some confessors and more here on the show. But Geoff, as you've known him as our Jets guru and insider, those days are over. He'll reclaim that role when training camp rolls around at the end of July, so we've got a couple of months here. Some other action, and he joins us as a WNBA guru, and he works with the New York Liberty for EliteSportsNewYork.com, so let me waste no more time in introducing our next guest, and that's Geoff Magliocchetti. Same name, new place, new stuff to talk about, the New York Liberty and the WNBA. Geoff, thanks for the versatility.
Paul, nothing I can't handle. Thank you for that great introduction. Just want to give a shout out, give a moment of thanks to the New York Liberty for the great stories they provided over my 2 years with the team. Just also want to thank Elite Sports New York for the opportunity, and give a shout out to WNBA Insider, who I've also started working with this season.
Well, Geoff, let me start off with this, and I'm trying to expand my horizons. I'm glad that you opened up this opportunity with your background in the WNBA. So I haven't picked a team yet, and I want to open up this dialogue by allowing you to make the case. You work with the New York Liberty, and you have for the last couple of years. So make the case for me why the New York Liberty should be the team that I root for and I even purchase a jersey for. So make the case right now for me.
Well, Paul, first of all, I think the first two words in the team name say it all, do they not? New York Liberty? I mean, come on. There's that for one thing. And, of course, I may be a little biased here. There's been plenty of, pick your team quizzes that have been going around. I believe SB Nation actually shared a pretty good one. But the New York Liberty, I'm biased, but I think that the Liberty should be your team because, number one, New York, you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. Number two, they have a dog as a mascot, and her name is Maddie. She is named after Madison Square Garden, so if you're not convinced by that, I'm not sure what to tell you. But on the court, there's actually been some very good happenings as well. The Liberty are, in fact, in a bit of a transition phase right now, but that youth movement is led by two key names, both their first-round picks over the past 2 seasons. Last season's first-round pick was Kia Nurse, a guard out of the powerhouse in Stores, of course, referring to the University of Connecticut. And with the second overall pick this year, they chose Asia Durr, a guard out of Louisville. And the Durr-Nurse connection, you could say Durr-Nurse is in. It's worked out pretty well so far over a couple preseason games and the first regular season game held on Friday night. They came up just short to the Indiana Fever, and it's continued a bit of a hard luck trend for the Liberty right now, who they've lost 14 straight regular season games right now, but there's reason to be hopeful for the future with this squad. There's plenty of talent. There's Hall of Famers on the coaching staff in Katie Smith and Teresa Weatherspoon, the latter of whom is set to be inducted in Springfield this fall, but there's plenty of big names to talk about. There's the two I just mentioned. There's Tina Charles, who a local native who has added filmmaker to her expansive resume this season with a documentary known as Charlie's Records, which debuted at the Tribeca Film Festival. So Liberty is plenty to get excited about. There's international talent coming in, and Nurse from Canada, Amanda Zawi from Switzerland, fellow starter Rebecca Allen, she comes from Australia. So there's plenty to get excited about on this team, and I wish I could tell you about the whole team right now. You got Brittany Boyd out of Cal, a new assistant coach from Cal in Sharman Smith. Herb Williams enters his fourth year with the team as an assistant coach. There's plenty to get excited about with this team. And not to mention, they will be making a greater impact on the New York area, hopefully, especially if they move full-time into Barclays Center, where they are set to play 2 games this year. The first was an international game against the Chinese national squad. Liberty's second-round pick, Han Shu, the first ever Liberty player, the first ever WNBA player drafted in the WNBA draft from China since 1997. So her former comrades from China came to visit, and Han put up 19 alongside Kia Nurse, also with 19 in an 89-71 Liberty victory. So there's definitely plenty to get excited about for the Liberty, even if the wins are hard to come by, at least in this early going of new ownership, under, of course, Joseph Tsai, the minority owner of the Brooklyn Nets.
And a lot to unpack there. Now, before we get to the overall WNBA, because we'll want some predictions as the season's getting underway here, but let's stick on the New York Liberty there. You mentioned Tina Charles, and sportseurope.com. What can you tell us about that conversation and some of her interest on the court and also off the court?
I spoke with Tina about a month ago. We talked about the debut of her film, like I said, entitled Charlie's Records. It premiered at the Tribeca Film Festival. And what the documentary is about, it's about Tina's father's Langston, his record store, which is in Brooklyn. It's just over a mile's walk away from Barclays Center. Tina has had New York written all over her career from the moment she started. She began in Queens, New York, where she began, a Jamaica, Queens, New York native. She began her basketball journey at Christ the King High School and had a very prolific career there. And then she went over to the basketball powerhouse that, of course, is UConn, won a couple titles there, and was chosen by the Connecticut Sun in the first round of the WNBA draft almost a decade ago. She was traded to the Liberty a few seasons later and has since made a huge impact both on the court and off in the New York area. One thing to keep an eye on for Tina Charles this season is that she has a chance to break the Liberty's all-time scoring record currently held by Vicki Johnson. So I definitely think that that's something to look forward to. But I think even more impressive is what Tina's been able to do off the court. She currently runs Hopi's Heart Foundation, which helps supply life-saving devices life-saving resuscitation machines in the New York area in public places. It has saved several lives and only continues to make an impact today. And of course, she has just added filmmaker to her expansive resume with Charlie's Records, which is the debut feature of her new production company, 31 Productions. So it was great to sit down with Tina and talk to her a little bit about it. And she came up big in Friday's game. She had 32 points, currently a season high amongst all WNBA players right now. They're in the infantile season, mind you, but still, impressive performance with 32 points and 12 rebounds, though the Liberty fell just short to the Indiana Fever, 82-81, after the 4th overall pick, Tierra McCowan, sank a game winner at the buzzer. So the Liberty will return to action and get a chance for some instant revenge on Saturday, taking on Indiana at Bankers Life Fieldhouse over in Indianapolis.
Well, Geoff, before we can chat here, let's get some WNBA predictions as we head into this thing. Who is your WNBA MVP prediction for the upcoming season?
My WNBA MVP prediction right now is Elena Delle Donne, and I think she is the one who most exemplifies putting the V in MVP at this point. Delle Donne, of course, a part of the Washington Mystics, who made it all the way to the WNBA Finals last year. Now, that trip was cut just a little bit short in the sense that Delle Donne suffered a big injury in the late going, and she returned to the court, but things weren't really the same, and they ended up losing to the Seattle Storm. I definitely think that Delle Donne comes back with a vengeance this year, eager to prove that the historically snake-bitten Mystics that year, last season, was no fluke, and I believe that she'll take home the MVP award, and the Mystics will take home their first ever WNBA title.
Okay, and what about your Rookie of the Year prediction?
Rookie of the Year, this is a very interesting case. After Friday, I could almost say Tierra McCowan in a way, but I digress. I think the Rookie of the Year award personally goes to Katie Lou Samuelson, who was picked by the Chicago Sky in last month's WNBA draft. Samuelson is a guard out of UConn, and she brings an absolute deadly shooting experience over to the Sky, and that's going to become even more deadly because she has perfect three-point specialists to help her out in Allie Quigley and Courtney Vandersloot. Quigley, of course, won last year's WNBA three-point competition at last year's All-Star Game. So those are two fantastic mentors for her to work with immediately, as well as Diamond DeShields over in Chicago. And I think she's going to lead a big basketball renaissance over there in a way. The Sky, they're likewise a work in progress. I see them making the playoffs this year. They had to fire Amber Stocks last year. They have a new coach coming in. They have made the playoffs in a few seasons, but I believe that streak ends this year, and I believe it's because of the efforts of Katie Lou Samuelson that'll lead them to that with a deadly shooting percentage out there. They'll have to improve on their defense, but I definitely see good things ahead for Katie Lou and the Chicago Sky. And one more player I just wanted to point out real quick. My most improved player suggestion goes to Jordan Canada of the Seattle Storm, the defending champions. Jordan Canada was last year's first-round pick for the Storm, and she only started 2 games last season. But with so many injuries dotting the WNBA landscape, including 2 huge ones to Breanna Stewart and Sue Bird, the former of which will be an ambassador for the WNBA during her lengthy rehab, which will take up the entire season. She was injured playing in an international league this offseason. But I think Jordan Cannon is going to step up big, and it certainly came up huge in last Saturday's nationally televised game. Came up big for the Storm in a win over the Phoenix Mercury. 33 games to go, but I'm feeling confident in that pick thus far.
Geoff, I want to thank you so much for joining us on the show. We'll tune in every week to learn more about the WNBA and what is obviously a growing sport that could be one to watch, certainly, for a lot of people across the United States and hopefully here in the Salt City. I appreciate your time, Geoff.
Definitely, Paul. Thank you for having me. And just one more thing. The ratings for that game on national TV, highest since 2012. So this is definitely a growing sport in this league, and I'm happy to contribute and happy you guys, and very thankful you guys have decided to have me on to talk about it. Thank you so much, Paul. Thank you.
Of course. And again, Geoff will continue to be with us every week. It will continue to be WNBA coverage until we get to late July. We'll transition back to New York Jets football